Right, right.
So yeah,
Now,
so
so
that's where it started.
what was that? What was that? Maybe that impact that you had from when you started, right? To God is now pouring, right? He's downloading this information to you. What was that impact for that one church or maybe that one worship leader, right? That you had on them with what you shared that really helped you to see and understand. Okay, this is why God called me to this.
So Adventist culture, and again, I can only speak for the culture that I come from.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not to bash. I'm not bashing, right? Adventist culture is naturally very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Adventists do not speak in tongues. They do not operate in the charismatic gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Very biblically sound. And I'm not saying it because I'm biased. I'm saying it because I've heard some of y'all doctrine.
Right.
It's a little interesting. Okay. However, um, I would go back into Adventist spaces and I would see how the congregation would respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go, oh, I would train other worship leaders and then sit in the congregation and watch the before and after. And they go, oh, the church has never responded like that before.
Mm.
Or I would have someone say, I have been going to Adventist churches my whole life, and I have never seen worship like that before, ever.
Mm.
Um, I have seen pastors break out spontaneously in worship in the middle of their sermon, and it was not scripted. I have seen pastors stand up to preach. And again, in Adventist culture, this is not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Adventist pastors or elders stand up to speak and they cannot start preaching because they are still worshiping. And that's when I'm like, there might be something here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep doing this thing because there might be something here. Even though I'm scared, I'm going to do it. So for me, that was it. Actually seeing people
Mm.
respond to worship, seeing the congregation grow,
Mm.
um, seeing the congregation excited for praise and worship,
Mm.
seeing the congregation not want worship to end.
Mm.
So
Well,
that was it for me.
that's awesome. And that makes me then also wonder because it's just like you saying the people who are leading out in worship, it needs to be an outflow of what worship they're having at home. So now it also leads me to say, okay, now when congregations are experiencing right worship in a way that's really impacting them from the front, right, coming to the congregation, is that now also helping them to have a different experience of worship at home, right? And so it's like it comes full circle, and that's also something that you wonder about and think about and say, man, when are those conversations going to start, making and trickling their way back to you of saying, man, I've been having a different, a spiritual life, since
Mm-hmm.
these things have changed. I've been really getting in my word more, and studying more since this thing have changed. And that's at the end of the day,
That's
the
the point.
desire is to have a connection with Jesus like we've never had before. That each and every day will be more lovely, more sweet, more perfect, right? And that's what we really want to get to is get to
Mm-hmm.
that point. Now, I
I
want to
know it's
go ahead.
good when when I see a person who normally does not respond to worship in the way that we're used to. Everyone's response is different. So some people's response is just really quiet and they'll rock
Right,
back and forth. And
right,
some people will jump up and down and scream and shout. I will
right,
never tell someone what their response should look like. I just want you to respond.
right.
Right. And I'm always shocked when I'll go to a conservative group and I see the most conservative pastor pull out their phone to record. That always tickles me. Or when I'm randomly on Obama's internet, on somebody's Facebook,
Right,
and
right.
I see a random older member in the church post. So in church last week, so and so sang this for praise and worship, and I can't get it out of my head. And it's the same song I sang 2 weeks ago. That's when I'm
Mm,
like, this means that for the past 2 weeks, you've been worshiping to this song.
mm.
Every time you hear it, you trip and fall into worship. Good job. I did my
Right,
job.
right.
or
Right.
Holy Spirit did his job. So
Right.
that's
Right.
really all that it is. Once people are intentionally going home and continuing worship, and now they're bringing that continued worship into the worship space the following week. Yeah,
Right.
that's what it is.
Thanks for watching the Lion and Lambo podcast. We hope this clip has been a huge blessing to you. And we want to remind you that we drop new videos, new podcast episodes every Sunday at 9 o'clock. You can find the full episode by clicking the card up at the top right of this video. If you prefer an audio only experience, then we want to let you know that we're streaming through every major podcast streaming platform. For the full list, you can go to www.lionandthelambo.com. Until next time, go impact the world.